The message that came through today on April 8th, 2024 was a pretty deep one. This message essentially is an all-encompassing word of in-between decisions lead to in-between results. To break that down into very simple terms, the message is saying that most of us are simply suffering because we have not made finite decisions in our lives. And what I mean by that is we are constantly living in between worlds by not deciding on a particular thing in multiple ways, multiple aspects of our lives. And because of that, we're attracting way too many unnecessary realities that cause an immense amount of chaos that leads to blocking of our blessings, confusion, missed opportunities, feelings of lack, loss, right? Forgetting or not knowing who we are. On a spiritual and practical level, I'm going to break all of that down. Basically, if there are two decisions, let's say something as serious as marrying Matthew or marrying Peter. Let's say we married Matthew. Deciding is a knowing, right? And trusting is different than knowing. Trusting is a belief, but trusting means there's a level of not knowing for sure, but simply believing in this truth to be the truth, right? But there's always that insecurity of, is this right? You want to give yourself the gift of standing on that one thing, standing inside of that one truth. So should you be with Matthew or should you be with Peter? Both cannot be true. So let go of Matthew so that you can fully be with Peter. You cannot live in both worlds of I'm with Matthew, but I'm still thinking about what would life have been with Peter? Because now you're creating realities where you're attracting things into your realm, into your scope, where those certain things are now coming into your life and confusing you. Now you're starting to see people that remind you of Peter. Now you're starting to see scenarios where you and Peter would have been in that scenario. Now you're starting to completely confuse and have doubt. Doubt and confusion will become a part of your life because you have not decided to stick to the one truth that is, I know that this thing with this person is proper, is right, is the right decision. Doubt, there's a good side to doubt and there's a bad side to doubt. The good side to doubt is that it wakes you up into knowing, okay, something's not right. So whenever you have this doubt, just know that doubt is not a bad thing. When you have that doubt within your system, your intuition is always going to be a guide. It's a navigation system. So when your intuition is giving you the gift of doubt, it's making you aware that something hasn't been decided, right? Something hasn't been finite. Something hasn't been completed. You must complete that truth, that thought, that reality, right? Do not live in multiple realities. That's not what we want. The closer we get to living that one reality, that really hardcore, decisive reality, then the closer we can get to manifesting the life that we truly want. Us constantly navigating in multiple realities makes it harder for the universe to navigate where we need to go. So things then take longer. It takes a slower time for us to get to the place that we need to be. Imagine if you're driving in a car and you don't know exactly where you're going. So you kind of go on this road, but then you're like, oh wait, can I go on this road? Oh wait, what if I went on this road? Oh, and then I think I should go on this road. And maybe if I go on that road, you're never going to get to your destination because you are constantly backpedaling on what your decisions mean to you, what you really wanted in life. So again, let's try to keep it and stick to that one reality, that one truth, right? Think to yourself, where in my life have I been backpedaling? Where in my life don't I feel secure? Is it a relationship? Is it my job? Where is there regret? Where is there residual resentment? What have I not explored? What curiosity am I ignoring? Wherever you're not fully satisfied, figure out where that's coming from, where that emptiness, where that void is trying to be filled, and figure out how you can live in that one truth and not have these multiple realities navigating within your spirit. Trust me, when you do this will lower your chances of getting a divorce, of spending way too much time at a job that you don't need to be. This will lower your chances of having friendships that don't serve you for years. Essentially, a lot of pain, heartache, and suffering. And you'll save a crap ton of time. So once you've decided, oh, I feel the doubt, what has not been decided, make the decision finite. And the reason why you need to make decisions finite is because finite decisions lead to infinite possibilities. I'm gonna say that again. Finite decisions lead to infinite possibilities. Because once you're fully with Peter, then and only then will something be revealed to you, right? Even if Peter's not the right person. First of all, once you fully commit to Peter, you will know for sure if he's the right person or not. And if he's not the right person, then something will be revealed to you that may even lead you to a Paul, right? Who knows? But you won't get there until you let go of that other thing completely. Let go of whoever else you're thinking of, whatever reality you might have been thinking of outside of being with this one person, right? It could have been a job that you wish you had. It could have been a place that you've lived. And just because you physically let go of something does not mean that you've let go. You could have moved to Philly, right? Moved to Philadelphia, but you're still feeling like you should be in Atlanta or Chicago. Stop fawning over something outside of the present. Make the decision that now is right, now is good, now is perfection, and anything else outside of now is just not for you. These in-between worlds right? They say doubt is the devil. They only say doubt is the devil because living in the reality of doubt is like living in hell. You are attracting so much chaos because you are causing suffering by overwhelming and overloading and overstimulating the brain and the mind and the spirit of realities that are not for you, right? Sometimes we are thinking as the person that abused us when we were younger, right? They might have told you, oh, you're this, you're that, you should be this, you should be that. Why don't you become a doctor? Why don't you become a lawyer? Stop trying to be this, whatever it is that you want to be. So now you're making decisions based off of the fear, based off of the abuse, based off of the doubt that they put in your mind, the seeds that they tried to grow in you. So now you're living in these realities that aren't your own, that are from the fears of someone else who tried to control you. You must let go of the realities that were created in fear, the realities that were created from lack and confusion, right? You must decide, make the decision on what it is that you truly, that the you, pray on what you, who you really are, who God created you to be, who you came here to be, who you co-created or what you co-created to happen in your life. I remember at one point I was a second grade teacher for like a year. They wanted me to stay longer, but I was like, this is not for me. But anyways, the whole point is that during that time, I learned so many valuable lessons, and I'm so glad I had that job for the short amount of time I did, because I had to take care of 30 kids. I was being trained to make sure that I could be the best possible leader and teacher for these kids. One of the invaluable lessons that I learned is that disciplining these children is so important because they needed structure and secure foundation of rules in order for them to feel like they can be able to freely create all forms of fun within those confines. I learned that the kids didn't feel safe when there was chaos, right? Because then there's just too much. There's too many wild things that can happen. When children find that they are safe within rules and confines and structure, then they feel safe enough to explore and to roam because they know that you got their back, and that some kid can't just punch them, or some kid can't just bully them, or they can't just go off the rails and jump on tables and be too wild to the point where things can go awry. When children feel safe, when children know that there's a structure, which structure is basically deciding on what is going to be, literally creating a foundational home for their creativity to live, right? These confines aren't limiting, they're simply deciding on what foundation to build so that they can have infinite possibilities. It's not as easy as I thought it was to explain, but I'm hoping that that's clear enough. Even more practical sense, in psychology, numerous studies have found that there's a connection between, right, steady self-doubt and psychological problems like mood swings, low self-esteem, anxiety, depression. And in fact, many of the symptoms used to diagnose depression correspond with patterns of constant self-doubt. The amygdala signals stress hormones, and these hormones cause us to live in this form of depression and chaos because we're doubting, because we're living in this space of complete and utter confusion. Some of us think that we've decided we could have a nice car, nice home, living in a nice space. Some of us think that we've made great decisions and are not living in between worlds. But guess what? Sometimes we are. It could be something as simple as, are you still living in the past? Are you? Is there a person that you're constantly thinking about? Is there a job opportunity that you keep thinking, oh, what if I had this job? What if I decided that I should have done this instead of that? Because you're still wondering what if I coulda, shoulda, woulda, then maybe you are living in between worlds. You have not decided something for certain. And even in the Islam culture, they say certainty cannot ever be overruled by doubt. If you are certain about your decisions up until this point and you have stayed in that truth, then nothing can mess with you. And you will continue to attract blessings. When you decide, then you're only going to attract things that work around that knowing and that decision. You're going to attract the things that make it so that these decisions that you have currently in this modern day, the things that are going to make you happy and fulfilled because you're living in the present moment, you're only going to attract the things that grow that thing. The universe just wants to make you right. But if you're living in between worlds and having yourself imagine that you were with Tom, Harry, Jeffrey, then you're going to attract the worlds in which you would have had all three. And that is very chaotic and very confusing and very toxic. Very toxic. You don't want to be attracting a life if you were a dancer, then you were a lawyer, then you were a doctor. You don't want to attract this level of unneeded energy, right? It's going to lead to fatigue. It's going to lead to burnout. Your mind, who's ever seen the butterfly effect, right? Where he had to go back in time and now his brain is full of multiple realities. His brain is now full of, I remember when I changed this. I remember when I changed changed that. I remember when I changed this. Now he has multiple realities of what would have happened if he lived multiple lives. And then his brain started to overload, and now he starts to go crazy and insane. The only way that he fixed everything is when he made the decision to not even meet the girl in the first place. He made the decision that she wasn't even a factor. He wiped her out completely because having her in his life caused so much chaos because he was trying so hard to change and make this right and make that right. He made the decision to say, F it. I never met her. And now this is my life. And now he was a successful lawyer or whatever he was, right? Success comes from focus. Focus can only thrive when you're standing in the one, when you're standing in alignment with the one thing, with the choice. And that one thing will lead to many things that prosper from that one thing. A really great example is right after college, I got accepted to an Ivy League school for my master's program. This was a highly prestigious program where they only accept 18 people out of hundreds and hundreds of people that apply. And so when I finally got accepted as one of the 18, I was so excited. I was like, yes, I got to do this. My mentor was like, you have to do this by any means necessary. I was like, cool. Then they were asking for $150,000. And mind you, I really didn't want to go back to school. My spirit was telling me the only reason why I applied to Columbia, or any school for that matter, is because I was trying to prove to myself that I was good enough to get in. And once I got in, it was almost like, oh, I don't actually want to go though. Like I was so done with school. And on top of that, I would have been spending $150,000. So long story short, I decided to not go. The fact that I didn't go, a couple of things happened. One, I was like the token black girl that they chose in that program, me and like one other girl, but I was the token dark-skinned black girl. And they chose another token dark-skinned black girl in my place. She emailed me or messaged me on Facebook and was like, thank you so much for turning it down, because she was on the wait list and now she got in, and like that was her dream and all this other stuff. That's one thing that happened, that somebody who actually wanted to go got in, and her life is now her life, right? And for me, I got into this incredibly wonderful international program, or job, I should say. I got this job, which was the best job of my life, where it was acting, touring on an international tour. So I got to see all 50 states and got to go outside of the country, travel. I had the best time of my life, right? I was with that company for 4 years. I made the most money I've ever made in my life. It was a huge thing. Like this was the best time of my life. But years and years later, I kept thinking to myself, what if I went to the Ivy League school? What if I decided to go? What if I decided to get my master's? Why didn't I go? I kept reneging what I already knew, and me constantly looking back on the past and wondering what if, that made it so that I kept doubting, and that doubt attracted realities where I kept seeing master's programs being thrown at me. I kept wanting to now, every time I saw somebody graduate, I kept having this feeling of like, maybe I should go back to school. Maybe I should this, maybe I should that. I was getting thrown off my course because of the fact that I kept questioning my current path. I was on the right path and I still am, right? And we always will be. But the more that we live in multiple realities, the more that will attract confusion, doubt, and then we'll jump on things that don't make sense. So I was even about to go back to school to get a master's degree, a degree that I didn't even want, in a program that I didn't even care about, doing something that I was already doing. So just take that as a lesson. Take that as a part of a lesson. Don't divide your focus. Make a decision and decide that that decision was correct. Move on. Don't live in multiple worlds. Don't live in that past. Don't create confused realities. Don't attract things that don't serve you. For you to have multiple trees, you can only be one tree with a bunch of branches. You cannot be 10 trees with all these different leaves and branches from all these different, it's so chaotic. Stand in the roots of that one tree. You are that one tree, and you're creating all these branches that will then grow and blossom, right, into all these fruitful things. But for you to try to be a bunch of different trees, things are not going to grow in that way. It's not. So I hope that that makes sense. There's a lot there. The way that these messages come to me, it really comes all at once, and I just kind of have to spit it out. So yeah, that was the message for today, and I'll see you next time. It's your girl, Sakina Iman. Peace.